got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job. Welcome to the Africa Development Studies Center, ADSC. ADSC is an organization focused on training and research to advance sustainable development and growth in Africa. We exist to facilitate customized training, research, and study exchanges worldwide on leadership, management, and critical development issues. The center offers a platform for the exchange of ideas and best practices. Our comprehensive services encompass research, consultancy, capacity building, training, and education programs, as well as publishing and disseminating development-related knowledge. Our faculty consists of experts and researchers with extensive experience in policy formulation, implementation techniques, and monitoring and evaluation. Our methodology involves talks, individual and group exercises, games, video screenings, and discussion seminar sessions in a cozy atmosphere, making learning enjoyable for our participants. For more information, email us at info@adstudiescenter.com or call +234 912 039 2362. Visit our website at www.adstudiecenter.com to learn more about our programs and upcoming events. Africa Development Studies Center, rethinking development for Africa.
To start with, let me give some introduction to myself. As you said, I was a former commissioner of finance. I was a commissioner of finance during the Ganduja's administration from June 2015 to October 2018. I was there for 28 months, okay, as a commissioner of finance. And I had been with Bayero University, Kano, before I was appointed commissioner of finance. Still, I'm a professor of accounting in the university, but I double as a commissioner of taxation because at the Prince Abubakar Audu University, Ayumba, Kogi State, there was a chair that had been vested there by the Federal Revenue Service in 2011. And they invited applicants for that chair, and I was the successful person, successful applicant. So I still occupy that chair, even though the chair is not functioning. But I got the privilege of serving as the elected or selected professor of taxation in that university. So I am in the area of taxation. I have done a lot of researches in that. And then I serve as the Federal Commissioner of the Tax Appeal Tribunal. So it was on 15th November that our tenure came to an end, from 2018 to 2024 November. So you can see that I have been involved at various levels on the issue of fiscal policy, tax revenue generation, tax revenue utilization. So this the reform that we are talking about was brought about by the president with a view to maybe perfecting the tax system in the country. So he formed a committee to advise him as to how to go about coming up with very good national fiscal policy, not just tax policy, and then how to reform the taxes in the country to make them better so that Nigeria can compete with other economies that are advanced in the area of utilization of taxation as a means of growing up the economy and achieving sustainable development. So this I know, the process and all that have gone into this project of reform. So bills were developed out of the report of that committee appointed by the president under the chairmanship of Mr. Tayo Oyedele. And for the first time in the history of forming a committee in Nigeria, we had a committee that the president has given the power of implementation. So it's not just about recommending something to him. It is about coming up with a report which will be convincing to him, and if he's convinced, he will ask them to be involved in the implementation of the recommendation of the report. So I think that is why the committee just presented the proposed bill to him without taking this bill to the public domain. Because of the trust that he has on the committee, he just sent the bill to the National Assembly for consideration, for passage into law. And in the bill, they even gave deadline as to when the bill to be passed into law. They expected that the National Assembly would deliberate on this committee, on this bill, to the extent that the bill will be passed into law before 1st January 2025, so that by 1st January 2025, the content or the provision in these bills will begin to be implemented by the government. 4 bills were developed and proposed. And then, unlike the expectation, the comment you made that people are more concerned about the administrative, tax administrative bill. What the bill that is generating the highest controversy is the Nigerian tax bill. That is the bill that has made provision for repealing about 11 taxes that are currently existing, including the VAT itself, including petroleum profit tax, including personal income tax, including companies' income tax, and other taxes like capital gain tax, casino tax, etc., etc. And then about 14 laws that are related to taxation, including laws that are designed to exercise control over consumption, over production. They made substantial amendment on them, and then take the amended aspect, amended part of those laws into the Nigerian tax bill, which means that the laws have suffered from, or they have enjoyed consequential amendment. So this bill, which is expected to become an act by 1st January, is now becoming an amalgamation of most of the taxes that Nigeria is using now. Most of the taxes, those that have been repealed, part of them, part of the provision in them have been injected into the Nigerian tax bill. Those that have been considered for consequential amendment, they are also captured in the Nigerian tax bill. And then they made a lot of paragraphing, creating part, creating section, etc., etc., to the extent that the content of that bill is about 220 pages. So you have to develop the stamina. You have to be used to reading before you read everything from the beginning to the end. And if you don't do that, you may miss a lot of things. And you may be talking ignorantly about the content of the bill. And unfortunately, that is what is happening in the public domain. you hear people talking ignorantly about the content of the bill. They just listen to news, radio, television. When they hear the comment of somebody, then they will amplify that comment ignorantly without reading the bill and understanding the content of the bill. So that is the one that is enjoying the greatest controversy. Of course, others too are enjoying some controversy. The Nigerian tax administration bill, because it is in that bill that the new sharing formula for VAT was stated. VAT have been extensively explained or described in the Nigerian tax bill, but how to share the proceeds of VAT have not been captured there. That provision could only be seen when you go to Nigerian tax administration bill, which is the bill that has been designed to show how the tax authorities in the country at the federal level, state level, and local government should be relating with one another so as to avoid conflict, so as to avoid a situation whereby all of them may go to a taxpayer with different dimension of claim. The bill was designed to achieve this main objective, to resolve the conflict that has been happening between tax authorities or even revenue generating agencies. Because when you talk about the revenue, we shouldn't be talking just about the tax revenue. You have revenue that custom is collecting. That bill, second bill, is saying that custom should no longer be involved in collecting revenue. It is the Nigerian revenue service that should be collecting. Custom, let them take care of their responsibility of checking item coming in, item going out, which is another area of clash. These custom people, they are used to collecting money. Okay, and they are used to, many of them, a lot of allegations are there as to how they are collecting this money, how they are not remitting the correct amount. So now, collection of custom duty will no longer be the responsibility of custom official, custom service. It's the Nigerian Revenue Service that should be collecting. The same thing with all other agencies of government that are considered as revenue centers. So that bill has made adequate provision to show that they know the moment this bill was passed into law, they don't have any power to collect revenue. It's the Nigerian Revenue Service that should collect. Let them deal with their own responsibilities of stabilizing the economy, ensuring control over consumption, over production, over whatever. But then collection of revenue is not their own. And then between the state internal revenue service and the Nigerian Revenue Service, there should be harmony. If there are revenues sources that are difficult for the state revenue service to utilize in generating revenue, they can bring in, they can collaborate, or they can reach agreement with the Nigerian Revenue Service to do the collection and then share the amount collected as per the agreement, or take cost of collection as per the agreement and then give the state internal revenue service or even local government revenue committee what they deserve. So the expectation of the Nigerian Revenue Nigerian Tax Administration Bill is to bring about harmony and understanding. So how that could be brought about is a question to be answered. Because of the nature of Nigerian, the nature of official, and the way the people put their eyes on money. They want to be the one collecting money or keeping money or doing something with money. And now you are saying that all those that are used to that, they have to, they will be suspended from doing that, or they will be barred from doing that. It is only that agency, the Nigerian Revenue Service, that will be doing it. So there are some issues there that are calling for a question, okay, understanding among the agencies involved or the tier of government involved, and then of course patriotism to ensure that whatever we do as revenue collectors, as treasury managers, As revenue utilizers for the execution of various projects, we demonstrate ethics, we demonstrate honesty and integrity. The revenue agency itself, before now, the revenue agency is behaving as if it is for the federal government. And this bill that has been sent to the National Assembly is encouraging the Nigerian Revenue Service, which will now replace the Federal Revenue Service and the law that established it. It's encouraging it to consider itself as a federation agency, not federal government agency. It is to be serving the interests of the federation. And so the concern of the state should be addressed by that agency. The concern of local government should also be addressed. It should be an agency that should be mentoring local government revenue agencies or tax authorities and state government revenue authorities or tax authority, so that they carry themselves together as a team, then ensuring that we have very good tax system in the country, that we have adequate revenue generation on taxation, which should be put to use for executing various projects that will bring about sustainable development in the country. So when you look at all the provision made in the Nigeria Revenue Service Bill, they are talking about the need for harmonious working relationship. They're talking about the federal Nigeria Revenue Service to serve as the model to state revenue service and local government revenue committee, so that they have very good understanding in implementing the provision in the Nigerian tax bill and the Nigerian tax administration bill. So all the provisions are like that. And then provisions have been made adequately as to the position of the executive chairman of the State Internal Revenue Service, the need for governing board, which will have that chairman as the chairman, the need to have a technical committee at the state level, and who are to be members of that committee, the whole representation to be drawn from various MDAs and other agencies of government and federal government into the committee, and many other issues. And even at the local government level, there is a need for revenue, local government revenue committee, which should be chaired by the councillor in charge of revenue or finance at the local government level, and who the members are and their function. So when you look at all the provision there shouldn't be any controversy. Even if there will be controversy, it should be less, and it should be something that could be resolved. For example, personally, I will not support a situation whereby the chairman of the State Internal Revenue Service should also be the chairman of the board. This is against corporate governance system. And then the same person will be the chairman of the technical committee. The same person will be the chairman of the revenue joint committee, where all the representatives for local government will be members and other agencies. So it will be as if the chairman of the Internal Revenue Service at the state level will become the alpha and omega on all revenue issues in the state. And that person may even be seen himself to be more powerful than Commissioner of Finance. When I was Commissioner of Finance, I was serving as the supervisory person on all the activity in the Internal Revenue Service. The chairman of Internal Revenue Service should be reporting to me, should be taking orders to me. He shouldn't be going directly to the governor. But the provision is showing that the chairman of Internal Revenue Service is equal to the commissioner. And in fact, they were even saying that governor is just to nominate him and has to go to the House of Assembly for clearance. Just as commissioner will go to House of Assembly for clearance. And there is no provision to show that this person should be answerable to the Commissioner of Finance. So something like this, I think many people may not see it, but with my own experience as a Commissioner of Finance, who have been intimately related to the Minister of Finance that time, I know the problem many states were facing as they empower the chairman of the Internal Revenue Service, they empower too much the Accountant General against the Commissioner of Finance, who should be the supervisor to all these agencies of government. So issues like this are there. and appropriate action need to be taken by the National Assembly in correcting the lapses in the bill. Then the last one, which is about institutionalizing revenue board. Okay, a revenue board. Before we have joint revenue board. Before we have joint tax board. So now that joint tax board is an appendix of the personal income tax. It's just under personal income tax. So now the drafters of the bill, they will want joint revenue board to be on its own, have a law supporting it, so that at the federal level, where we have the chairman of the Federal Revenue Service, he will now serve as the chairman of the Joint Revenue Board. Then all the chairmen of the Internal Revenue Service at the state level will be members. Ministry of Finance will have a representative. Ministry of Budget and Planning will have a representative. And you have some other agencies of federal government that may send representatives into that board. So that board will be taking decision on monthly basis on where improvement should be made, how to solve problems between one tier of government and another, and many other things, which will be very, very beneficial to the president or the Federal Executive Council, and then beneficial to governors and the various state executive council on fiscal policy and on utilization of taxation to generate revenue, and on utilization of the revenue being generated by these agencies. Because many people are having the feeling that the agency, they collect this money and they spend the money. But in real sense, they only collect, but they remit to the government, into the treasury of government. So while they collect, they have the responsibility of collection, they don't have the power to spend a kobo from the amount generated. It is the government that takes care of that. So the Joint Revenue Board has been given a lot of responsibilities in that bill. So when it becomes a law of itself, so the Joint Revenue Board will now be more powerful than what we know before as Joint Tax Board. So this is just the summary of the bill that have been sent to the National Assembly for passage into law. Yeah, my point is that we need reform in our tax system. As a student of taxation, I have the belief that no economy can make any progress if it doesn't have a good tax system. Most of the economies of the world, or I can say all of them, all the developed economies of the world, they are tax-based economies. And most of the natural resource-based economies, they are among the backward economies in the world. Look at it. All the members of OPEC, none of them is part of the G20. They have the revenue, they have the oil, they are producing it in great quantity, but they are still being considered as developing economies. Well, when you look at UK, Germany, France, US, other countries like that, they don't claim to be having enough revenue, enough oil to refine for their use and then to export the excess for sale. They don't claim for that, and that's why they don't belong to the OPEC, Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. They base their economy on taxation, but then they have very good tax system, which is just attracting minimal complaint. And the moment they hear some complaint from either the taxpayers or the tax administrators, they take appropriate action immediately, so that at the end, nobody will complain. And because of the reliance on taxation, the citizen of their countries, both natural and artificial person, companies and individuals, the citizen of the country, as they pay tax, they have the right to demand accountability. They have the right to demand prudence. They have the right to demand transparency. And for that, those imposition of austerity, they are always in fear that whatever, if they steal a kobo, people will shout, this is our money. We contributed this money for execution of progress that will amount to a project that will amount to sustainable development, not for the money to be stolen. So this person that is stealing money, appropriate legal action should be taken against him. Sometimes you hear some leaders being hung. Sometimes you hear some leaders being shot, the firing squad, because of the misuse of public money. So members of the public that are contributing this money in the form of taxation, they complain, and then they insist on appropriate action to be taken. So before you come out and claim that you want people to vote for you to go to the parliament or to be the governor or the president or whatever, you will have it in your mind that when you go there, you touch public money, that may be the end of your life. Because the contributors of that money will be, their eyes and attention will be on the money. And the moment you misuse it, they will take appropriate action against you. Your image will be tarnished. You may even lose your life. So those economies that are considered as developed, they rely substantially or totally on taxation for their development. And then those economies that are relying on natural resources, oil, cocoa, solid mineral, whatever, as they use the money from this to execute project, the members of the citizens of that country, both natural and artificial, they don't care if they see them stealing the money and abusing the money, because it's not their money. It's not their own contribution to the economy. Number one, the prohibition on VAT, what you said earlier has attracted a lot of attention from leaders in the northern part of the country. VAT could be addressed in two ways. Okay, the first way affect everybody, and then the second way is what the leaders in the north are complaining about. The first way is on the increase in the VAT rate. Increase in the VAT rate. We have never had a situation whereby progressive increase will be brought to VAT rate in any country in the world. From my reading, I have never experienced it. But this is being brought about in Nigeria through these laws. They said VAT rate now, which is 7.5%, as per the content of Finance Act 2020, will be increased to 10% from January 2025. Just about a month away. If the bills are passed into law, VAT will be increased to 10% of all VATable goods and services. And then just 1 year after, 2026, it will be increased to 12.5%. Then you have a small raise for 3 years. By 2030, the rate will be increased to 15%. So you can see the progression in the increase of VAT. And the moment you increase VAT rate, inflation will come up very powerfully, especially as you are increasing from 20 to 2025, 2026, you are increasing 2.5%. So the goods and services throughout the country, you see their prices going up. And there is no separate market for VATable goods and services and non-VATable goods and services. No separate market. Don't just feel that when you increase VAT rate, the increase in price will be on VATable goods only. All other goods and services, their prices will go up. And how do you survive that? Nigerians now are complaining about fuel subsidy removal, electricity subsidy removal, and many people have become unemployed. Many people have become disabled. Nobody, no any earner of salary can claim to be saving anything for investment. People are borrowing money to top up to the income that they have for survival. And those that have no work, they are complaining. We just finished induction for ICANN. About 3 inductees met me that if I have any chance for them to get employment, you are qualified as a chartered accountant and you are looking for jobs. So what about the secondary school leavers, diploma holders, and other people that have not even attended school? So unemployment is on the high side, and increase in inflation is a killer to businesses, because when you don't have people buying, you have to stop production. You have to stop providing services. And when you stop production, you sack your employees. And then you have more people go into the employment market and labor market. So increase in the VAT rate is a very big killer to an economy. And this is a problem that affects all the states in Nigeria. And our president himself in 2020, I could remember, when they are trying to increase VAT rate from 5% to 7.5%, he came up and warned the government that this increase in VAT rate will be harmful to the economy because of the inflation that it will ignite. That was during his, I think, 68 or 69 birthday lecture. When he was to comment, he talked harshly against the increase in VAT rate. And now the same government is accepting the bill to go to the National Assembly for increase in VAT rate on a continuous basis. So I see this as a very big mistake. The timing is very wrong. And then the policy, the idea of progressively increasing VAT rate, especially as Nigerians are complaining about subsidy for subsidy removal, electricity subsidy removal. So this is one thing that need to be looked into. And as we are interested in generating more revenue through taxes, particularly consumption tax, we have to be very careful about the consequences of the increase. And this is for the whole country. So that is one part. The second part is about the sharing of the amount that will be generated. Yes, right now, one VAT is generated internally, and of course the one for custom, they put it together and share it using vertical formula and horizontal formula. Vertical formula between federal government, state government, and local government. So federal government takes 15%, state government 50%, local government 35%. That's how they share it vertically. And then for local government and state, since they are not at the same level in terms of population, in terms of level of economic development, in terms of weight for industrial development, so they have to use the separate formula. And they agreed that 50% of whatever belongs to state government should be shared equally. 30% should be shared on the basis of population. And then 20% should be shared on the basis of derivation. And that derivation, in the simple language, is about the contribution of every state to the VAT that has been generated. And at the local government level, they are to consider the contribution of each local government to the VAT that has been generated. Okay? So at the state level, when you say contribution of every state on the VAT that has been generated, consumption is much more in some state than in some other state. But then the formula, the derivation, the term derivation, this date, that is being applied now, is giving priority to states where the head offices of companies providing services and goods are located. You do consumption in Adamawa on services, maybe recharge card, and other communication or telecommunication services, or bank services, or insurance services, or whatever. So since you are just dealing with the branches there, the head office of the bank producing these services is in Lagos, or in Rivers, or wherever. So it will be deemed as if you do the consumption there. And so the credit will go to Lagos or Rivers or Ogun or wherever, where the headquarters of it is located. Not where you do the consumption. So at the end of the day, you see that states like Lagos, its own contribution may be 50% or 60% or more. every month. The said like River say its contribution will be about 15% or 20%. Abuja may be about 10% or 50%. And then the heavy consumers, the northern state, like Kano, which is a commercial center, its own contribution may be 1% or 2%, because it doesn't have the head offices of the companies providing these goods and services that are being consumed there. So at the end of the day, you see that 20%, if it is 6 billion, for example, if it is 6 billion, for example, so 60% of that 6 billion will be about 3.6 billion. That may go to Lagos. And then 10% of that 60% may be about 600 million. It may go to this. And then you, the consumers, you may get 1% of that. So you can see that particular 20% is the crux of the matter. That is the basis of the controversy. So now that this bill has been submitted to the National Assembly, then these people have saw that this derivation has been increased to 60%. 60% instead of 20%. Now, not previously, right now, 20%.
Not right now, 20%.
And it has been jacked up.
It has been jacked up.
And the depreciation has been jacked up. And then in the law, derivation has not been defined. But then people have to go by what is happening now. As they go against it, since now derivation is about contribution of state that are producing these goods and services being consumed. So they have the right to just say that, oh, so now instead of 20%, it will now be 60%. And then you hear the government functionaries, including members of the committee, saying that no, that's not what they mean. They mean area of consumption. This 60% derivation is about consumption area, not location of the headquarters of company that produce the good or services. You should have defined that in the law. When you say the issue of derivation has been increased to 60%, but what we mean by derivation is this and that. So that controversy will have been avoided. Or you go under the interpretation section. And so as you are interpreting this and then you say derivation. By derivation, we mean this and that. That has not been done in both the Nigerian Tax Act and the Nigerian Tax Administration Act. So you can sympathize with the people complaining. And then if it goes like that, if they don't correct it at the National Assembly before passing into law, the moment it is passed into law, they will go back to this issue. The suspicion is that they will just go back to a pleasing state where the headquarters of the companies are located, because there is no definition that says that it is about consumption. So everything needs to be documented. Yeah, in a society that is well informed, you should always talk on the basis of evidence. And evidence in accounting, we said you prioritize when you are to prioritize between two evidence, verbal and written. Written is more important than verbal evidence. Okay, and that is why in court, even if you say you give verbal evidence, they want to write it down and read it for you. Then you sign, or you put your thumbprint that yes, this is your comment. Because written evidence will continue to remain. Verbal evidence could be denied in a later date. So these are two issues, all based on that. And then you can appreciate why people are talking too much on this matter, to the extent that they don't even care to notice other lapses that in the act. But they, as student of taxation, I have to read and try to pinpoint lapses that need to be corrected so that we have a perfect reform on taxation or on revenue generation in our dear country. So you see, I saw provision on development levy. On development levy, that there will be development levy. And that development levy will be 4% of assessable profit of companies whose turnover is more than 50 million per annum. So their assessable profit, 4% will be charged as development levy from 2025 to 2026. From 2027 to 2029, development levy will be reduced to 3%. From 2030 and up thereafter, development levy will go down to 2%. So that development levy will be the reason for wiping out other development levies that is used by some government agencies that are providing vital services for this country. You have TED Fund, Tertiary Education Trust Fund. Now they are relying on 3% of accessible profit of companies for all the projects that they are executing across the country. TED Fund, as I hope you know it very well. So it's the one that is most of the infrastructure development in federal university, federal polytechnic, federal college education have been executed by TED Fund. They sponsor lecturers of various institutions to go for further study, to attend conferences. And they have what they call National Research Fund. They take care of all the researches that are being conducted by all these tertiary education institutions using that money. So TED Fund will now get some share from this new development levy. And then you have NIDA, Nigerian Information Technology Development Agency, which is given the mandate of making Nigeria to become an ICT economy. And that agency is relying on 1%. 1% of the profit before tax of GSM companies, banks, insurance companies, etc. These are companies that are pushing for ICT technology development. So the agency is the one to be monitoring the activities, and they want to be funding ICT development in various institutions and taking many other measures which should take Nigeria to ICT economic level. You have NASENI, Nigerian Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure. So that is an agency that has been given the mandate to make Nigeria become science and technology economy, to promote local manufacture of cars, local manufacture of motorcycle, and many other things that will show that, yeah, we have grown up as an economy that can compete with all these developed economies. So that agency is also relying on a particular share, I cannot remember, from what internal, I think, Federal Revenue Service is collecting. And now the government has introduced NEL Fund. So NEL Fund is collecting 1% of the total taxes, levies, etc. that are passing through the Federal Revenue Service. So these are 4 agencies of government that are relying on levies, charges, etc. for them to take care of the mandate given to them. So this development levy is designed to ensure that 3 of them are phased out systematically. Only NEL Fund, which is for giving loan to students, will survive. By 2030, that 2% that we are talking about, from 4% to 3% to 2%, the whole of that 2% will be for the NEL Fund. While all these have been put aside, it's up to the government to decide whether to disband them or to put them into the mainstream budgeting system. So in 2025 to 2026, TED Fund will get 50% of that 4%. And NEL Fund will get 25%. NIDA will get 20%, NASEMI will get 2%. So by the end of 2026, NASENI, NIDA will no longer get anything from that development levy. So they will be on their own. It's up to the government to decide whether to pay them out or to continue to fund them through the budgeting system. And then by the end of 2029, third fund will not be getting anything. Well, from that 27 to 29, they said third fund will be getting 66 and 2/3%. And NELDA will get 33 and 1/3%. That is what will happen for 2028 and 2029. By the end of 2029, forget about third fund. It is only NEL fund that will be getting that 2% development levy that will be charged. So you can see that by 2029, all the three agencies that have clear mandate for moving the Nigerian economy forward, they may either be phased out or they may be taken back into the mainstream federal government budget. And agencies that are used to being independent, are being to working on target, how can they survive under the mainstream government budget? So the other implication is that as you have only NEL fund, even before transferring everything to NEL fund is there to give loan to students. All this money that will be coming to you just for giving loan to students. So this shows that a Nigerian student will mainly become debtors. And when they become debtors, will they have the mouth to complain about the government being a debtor nation? Nigeria as a whole becoming a debtor nation. Every day loan is increasing. So students too will now become debtors. Secondly, the federal institution, all these federal universities, they are not charging tuition fee up to now. They only charge registration fee. University of Lagos, University of Ibadan, Bayero University, Kano, ABU, all these federal universities, and many of the state universities, they don't charge tuition fee, just to encourage children of the poor to attend university or polytechnic or colleges of education. So as third fund is put in place, nobody can claim that he or she cannot pay tuition fee. And then no university or polytechnic should be going to government asking for money. In fact, government may even give them target of the amount that they should be remitting to the government. Because you are charging tuition fee, you are charging registration fee, you are having enough money to take care of yourself. And then we want you to remit something to us because we own the federal university college education polytechnic. So at the end of the day, you see that students will become debtors, students and their parents will insist on making sure that their children attend universities or polytechnic or college of education. And then the universities will no longer be complaining about insufficiency of funds. Because private universities are not complaining of it. They have their founders who are funding them and they are charging fee. Some are even charging 2.something million per semester. In Nigeria here, some are charging 2 million, some are charging 1.5 million per semester, and some per session. And so they have a lot of money to execute various projects, to pay high salary to their staff. And then the private universities, they are complaining that no money. When you go, they say no money. Even for execution of project, they either take one to do it for you, or you go cap in hand as for support from individual and organization to execute project for you. But now that you are allowed to charge fees, and the student, if they don't have money to pay, or their parents don't have money to pay, they go to NELCO to collect loan for the payment of the tuition fee and the registration fee, and even for living costs. And the method is very clear that when you borrow such kind of money, you will start making repayment 2 years after graduation, and even 2 years after graduation until you get a job to do. And then from the job that you are doing, you'll be paying 10% annually up to when you finish paying the loan. How will that be feasible in Nigeria? How will that be feasible? So this provision too is a matter of concern. Yes, for people that will look about what will happen in the future. Look at the implication of the policies contained in that bill. Okay? So I'm of the opinion that to correct these lapses, they should just stop at the first formula. When you collect 4%, you increase the rate to 3%, as again to 4%, as again 3% for third fund, in order to accommodate other agencies. and you stop charging the other day. And then, so the first year they said 50% will go to third fund, which is like reducing what third fund is getting from 3% to 2%. I hope you understand. When I say 50% of 4, that is 2. Before third fund is getting 3% of the accessible profit. So we can manage with the decrease from 3% to 2%. And then null fund, which is the baby of the government, will give you 20%. Okay? Then NISDA, which is having very clear mandate of making the Nigerian economy an ICT economy, 20%. Then NASENI, 5%. Saying we don't care much about the technological development that may come to manufacturing cars, motorcycle, etc. We give them 5%. And then allow them to look for means of further funding themselves. So you stop at that, but not to scrap any of these agencies. So that's my own advice. Okay? So that is another important area that needs to be addressed in this bill before they are passed into law. In taxation, as I said, we encourage payment of what you can afford. A situation whereby, this is my own personal opinion, yes, and people may feel that I am in support of taxing the poor. No, I'm not talking about the poor. Anybody that doesn't have income, that doesn't have profit, that doesn't have gain, it should not be considered for taxation. But if you are making some gain, you are making some income, no matter how small, and you are paying something, no matter how small, out of what you are gaining, that will make you to have greater moral right to challenge government. But if you are put outside the tax net, you are not contributing anything, you don't have much moral right to come and challenge the government for inefficiency, for poor accountability, for poor transparency. When I was Commissioner of Finance, I had called to be organizing some town hall meeting with small, medium, micro, small, and medium enterprises across the market that we had in Kano. I will invite their leaders and inform and address them. You see, we are introducing presumptive tax. We are doing that with a view to ensuring that you own the government. You own the government. This government belongs to every one of us. But then those that are contributing money into running the affairs of the government, into executing various projects for the state, they have greater stake than those that are not contributing anything. And no matter how small your contribution is, you have the right to claim ownership of government. So many of them were encouraged. So I say, okay, you are in this business, you are at this level. How much can you afford to pay as your presumptive tax? So we say they themselves, yeah, they will accept, yeah. So there was a time that we had meeting with some of them. I was saying that you are too small, or maybe every month you should be contributing 100 naira. Some say no, if that group of people can contribute 150, we can contribute 200 naira every month. Through engagement, interaction with the micro, small, and medium enterprise, you can arrive at something that they will be contributing in the form of presumptive tax. And that payment will make them to have the pride of becoming taxpayers. And they will be having their eyes on how government is spending the money. But the situation whereby you come openly and say that you are pushing away about 90% of the people out of the tax net. So you are only relying on 10% of people for the payment of tax. So you are saying that you are now taking the whole of the government to 10% of people, or probably 1% of people. My worry is about that threshold. The fact that you have threshold does not mean that somebody that is not at that threshold, who is making money, cannot contribute with a view to owning the government. I hope you understand. My concern is about ownership. Taxation is a way of owning the government. So if I pay tax, like now I pay tax, I know every month they deduct something out of my salary as a lecturer in the university. I will look at my pay slip and see the contribution that I have made. So if I need tax clearance certificate, I can go there and collect it, whatever reason. But you that are not paying anything, what tax clearance will you ask for? Okay? And then if something bad is happening in government, you see them stealing money, do you have any right to complain? Is it their money? What have you contributed there? So a situation whereby we want people to be economically empowered, to own government. And then we are now having a reform that is saying that that is even proud to say that about 90% are made not taxable, even presumptive tax. So in other words, I am of the view that as we claim for transactional tax to be paid by the rich and luxury asset to be taxed as that are at the lower level, they should also be paying some presumptive tax, even if it is 10 naira per month or 20 naira per month, so that those rich people claim that the government belongs to them, this one too will say, yes, the government belongs to us. So provision like this is not there in the act. All they are just claiming is that they have pushed people away from the tax net. And pushing them away from the tax net, just pushing them away from ownership. So you are just surrendering the whole of the government to very few people who will now be teleguiding those in the position of authority. And you will just be asking for help all the time. Where you can also claim ownership with pride, or no matter the amount that you are contributing to government. The other aspect of it is this absence of adequate provision in the Act on property tax. Property tax, yes, property tax. Like I was talking about luxury asset. Those with luxury asset, they need to be taxed on the value of this luxury asset so that we generate more revenue. Those that are doing a transaction of high volume of money, they need to be taxed for this transaction. That's what we call transactional tax. So you can see that as we are talking of relieving the poor or income earners from tax, from this tax rate, we are not talking much about taxing the rich in the bill. It is not clear as to how properties of the rich people in this country who are very small. Someone was even telling me that in Nigeria, where you say 99% of the wealth of the country is in the hand of 1% of the people in the country. That 99% of the people of this country, they own only about 10% of the wealth of the country. What a gap! If this is true, we have not done any study empirically to ascertain this figure. But you can see some sign of it. And you need taxation to bridge the gap. And then as you are arguing for the bridging of the gap, you now have a reform that is throwing away 90% of the people from the tax net. And then the people drafting the bill are even proud to say it. So I have reservation on this. If I found my way, I will agitate for appropriate correction to be done. And that does not mean that I'm agitating for the taxing of the poor. I'm talking about those that can afford. They are not for the personal income tax rate, but then they pay presumptive tax with a view to owning the government, with a view to ensuring that the government is not allocated to only the very few rich. And then these few rich, in the other way around, there are no adequate provision, there are no clear provision to see how their wealth will be taxed. No. If you look at all the statements that I've been making, there's nowhere that I mentioned that the North is having this agitation. I'm just talking to you about areas of concern in the law. Areas of concern. I think I only made reference to the North when it comes to this issue sharing of VAT, that the governors and traditional rulers in the North, they are forced to raise alarm. And they raise alarm on this matter only. But all the other matters that I mentioned, they have not said anything. Maybe they have not seen them. They don't have this perspective that I have. Okay, so I am a Nigerian first before becoming a northerner. Okay, so I talk as a Nigerian. My concern is about the Nigerian people. And the northern people are also part of Nigeria. Yeah, you see their position, or the worry they express is just about the injustice they suspect from the issue of VAT collection and sharing. And even that provision has been made perfectly, I doubt very much if they will complain. And then secondly, they may be having the suspicion that the drafters of the bill were just reading the mind of the president. A president who was a governor in Lagos State, who developed, people are just having the feeling that he was the one that developed the Lagos agenda, which is about making the Lagos State to have a special status in Nigeria. And special status is just about maybe putting it into a position higher than other governors, but not up to the level of the federal government. And then when you are targeting that special status position, then a lot of things could be designed that will be favoring Lagos. So those that are attaching the bill, one, they are doing that in view of the formula they discovered, which may not be, will not augur well for them on the VAT allocation. And then secondly, they may be having the feeling that this law was just designed to favor Lagos State in the course of its own effort to become a state that has special status. Okay? It says so that will make it to be seen as if it is a country of its own, even though it's not up to the level of country, but it is higher than all other states in the country. Probably this may be the reason why they are agitating. The one that you can see clearly is on this issue of VAT, and then they have other suspicion. So that is another worry that I have, the issue of trust. Trust, what some experts call trust deficit. Yes, will be promoted greatly by this bill if corrective measures are not taken. All these issues that I mentioned, I did that honestly as a Nigerian. By all standards, I should be accepted as a Nigerian. Even by virtue of my past, people should accept me as a Nigerian. I don't have any reason to be sentimental against any part of this country. I don't have any reason to be favorable to one region against another. I don't have any reason for that, but even by virtue of my birth and my own level of experience, okay? And of course by my age, somebody that is around 60. So that person should only be thinking about what you meet when you die, when you reach your goal. Okay, so I think to be fair to them, we can say that their worry is mainly about that issue, and then all other issues are suspicion.
Morning to you and welcome. Many thanks for joining us this morning on News Update, reaching you live from our studios at Souqnews Television. I am Priye Krumale. The federal government of Nigeria has planned to raise up 360 billion naira from bond sales in the third quarter of 2025, according to a new issuance calendar released by the Debt Management Office. The government will reopen 2 existing bonds. The federal government of Nigeria April 2025 9 bond at 19.30% and the June 2032 bond at 17.95%, offering between 40 billion and 60 billion naira in each of the 3 monthly auctions. These reopenings are scheduled for July 28, August 25, and September 29, with maturities ranging from 3 years and 7 months to nearly 7 years. The plan supports government effort to finance budget deficits, sustain debt, and boost infrastructure through long-term domestic borrowing. The Debt Management Office stated that the calendar may change based on market conditions and funding needs. Moving on, the Dangote refinery has lowered its export petrol price from 840 naira to 820 naira per litre in a bid to stabilize Nigeria's fuel market and ease the cost burden on marketers. The ex-depot price is the rate of which petroleum products are sold to distributors before retail markups, meaning that the reduction could lead to slightly lower pump prices depending on logistics and dealer costs. With fuel imports still strained by forex shortages and inflationary pressures, the refinery's move is seen as a strategic intervention. Industry analysts said this pricing decision could strengthen Dangote's dominance in Nigeria's downstream sector and may pressure other suppliers to review their rates. Government officials welcomed the reduction, calling it a positive sign of local refining capacity beginning to influence national pricing dynamics, according to reports. Now, the United States has revised its visa policy for Nigerian citizens, announcing that effective July 8, most non-immigrant visa categories, including those for tourism, business, and academic exchange programs, will now begin single entry and valid for 3 months only. This marks a shift from previous long-term multiple entry visas that were valid for up to 2 years. A U.S. authority said that the change is based on the principle of reciprocity, ensuring Nigerian applicants receive the same visa conditions the Nigerian government applies to American citizens. While the U.S. Embassy clarified that the policy is administrative and not punitive, the change has sparked concerns among Nigerians and their travelers and business stakeholders and frequent flyers, students, and companies with cross-border dealings fear increased travel costs and administrative burdens. Diplomats and analysts warn the change could affect U.S.-Nigeria relationships unless Nigeria responds policy adjustment to restore access to longer duration visas for its nationals. Now, 5 African presidents are in Washington, D.C. this week for a high-level summit with former current United States President Donald Trump, seeking to unlock over $4 billion in trade, energy, and security agreements. The talks running from July 9 to 11 are expected to cover investments in infrastructure, agricultural exports, renewable energy, and the projects and military cooperation. The leaders, mainly from West African province, are also lobbying for greater United States engagement under the African Continental Free Trade Area. Observers say the visit reflects Africa's renewed push to diversify global partnership amid growing competition between China, the EU, and the U.S. in the region. Trump, who has indicated renewed interest in strategic African ties, is expected to pitch U.S. private sector-led initiatives. If successful, the deals could significantly boost job creation and energy access in Africa, while offering the U.S. a chance to reassert influence across the continent. Now, the Bank of England is signaling a possible interest rate cut in August as fresh data shows inflation cooling to around 3.4% with wage growth and employment levels also easing. If implemented, the central bank is expected to reduce its benchmark rate by 0.25% points, marking the first cut since the inflation surge triggered by global supply shocks and the Ukraine conflict. Analysts said the move reflects growing confidence that the UK economy is stabilizing after months of tight monetary policy. However, concerns remain about consumer spending and long-term productivity. The potential cut could ease borrowing cuts for households and businesses, but also signals the bull's caution in managing inflation without triggering another round of price surges or weakening the pound. Now to the world of football. Chelsea FC has reached the final of the FIFA Club World Cup after defeating Fluminense 2-0, securing $2.5 million in prize money and ramming up excitement among fans and sponsors. The win also triggered a spike in Adidas jersey sales as anticipation builds ahead of Sunday's final against either Paris Saint-Germain or Real Madrid. The commercial impact of Chelsea's run in the tournament is already being felt, with social media engagement, ticketing, and merchandise revenue climbing steadily. Analysts said that success of the global stage reinforces the club's brand and power, and enhances its market appeal, particularly in emerging football markets like Asia and Africa. Adidas, Chelsea's key sponsor, is also leveraging the momentum with new product drops tied to the final. Many thanks for watching. Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms at Souq News Television. I am Oyempriye Krumale. Do stay tuned for our next program, Just Africa. Good morning.
My name is Shino Ogbadegeshin. I'm the CEO of Gozi Micro Insurance. Continue to watch Souq News.
Adenike Adeyemi, Executive Director of Faith Foundation. Keep watching Souq News.
My name is Shepherd Michael Adewale Onofuye. I enjoy you all to always watch Souq News TV.
Hey everyone, Majuli Obaje here representing Gigi. Keep watching Souq News, okay? Stay updated with Souq News.
My name is Aton Kene. I am the head of MSME banking. Please keep watching Souq News and stay glued to Souq News.
I recommend that more and more people should watch Souq News because they deal with business news.
Hi, my name is Amaka Wokolo. I am the director of the Faith Institute at Faith Foundation. Keep watching Souq News.